If it's Friday, it's First Call. Welcome in, everybody. Jeremy Plonk and Jeff Siegel with Express Bet and First Bet. The First Call podcast is our chance to handicap 8 weekend stakes races, and we've got an eclectic mix for you this weekend as December rolls on. Jeff, out in your part of the country, it doesn't get cold. You stay hot all the time out there, but we need heated up here on the East Coast this weekend, so hopefully some good racing will do it.
Oh, we do. We got Aqueduct, Turfway, Gulfstream Park, Oaklawn's got a couple of stakes.
Right.
Golden Gate's got one, and of course, racing for a brief time anyway at Los Alamitos, leading up to the Santa Anita season, which begins the day after Christmas. But actually, a very good race at Los Al this week, the Starlet. So we'll watch that. And the 2-year-old filly's going the distance of ground. Bob Baffert's won that race 6 years in a row, and he's got 2 of the 6 in the race.
Yeah.
So chances are good that he'll win again, although I'm picking against him. We'll get to that later on.
You think about the Starlet over the years at the old Hollywood Park, of course, and the greats, the Altheas, the Serena Songs. I mean, that race has a storied history over the years. It can produce a good one. I think Feza, recent winner of it, that's gone on to significant things later in her career as well. So we'll see what we have in this year's edition of the Starlet. That's one of our 8 stakes races that we'll handicap. And for the benefit of those of you listening into our traditional podcast audio channels, here is the schedule of races Jeff and I will handicap. We'll go to Aqueduct first for the Garland of Roses. Then we'll go to Turfway Park, the My Charmer on the synthetic there. At Gulfstream Park, a pair of 2-year-old turf stakes races, the Wait a While and the Pulpit. At Oaklawn, where it's opening day today on Friday as we leash our podcast out to the public. And on Saturday, it'll be the first Saturday of the meet with the Ring the Bell and the Mistletoe Stakes, dual stakes action there in Hot Springs. At Golden Gate Fields, they'll run the Bear Fan. I don't know if you have to transfer your allegiance to the ACC after this year for the Cal Bears, but we'll find out with the Bear Fan the result of that one, and the Los Alamitos Starlet. First of 2 big races at the end of the year for the 2-year-olds at Los Al. Of course, we'll see the Futurity coming up in due time. Tournament play this weekend at Express Bet. You can play in 2 different $80 qualifiers, feeder tournaments for Gulfstream Park's Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. You can qualify for that big one in January, either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday this week. 3 different $80 feeder tournaments towards the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. And then if you want to play in the opening day, December 26th, Santa Anita Challenge, you can qualify for that big money tournament with just an $80 entry in the feeder tournaments this weekend for Los Alamitos on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a lot cooking. And as I mentioned, Jeff, it's opening day at Oaklawn. So as some meets start to wind down, we get to the end of the season. Some are picking up for the winter. Of course, second week of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park. We're a couple weeks away from Santa Anita getting the winter up and running in a full sprint. In the Mid-South, we're already running at Fairgrounds for a couple weeks now, going back to pre-Thanksgiving. And then, of course, Oaklawn's opening weekend this weekend. So a lot of great racing for the winter. In many cases, the summer's awesome because of the weather and the boutique meets, but the winter racing on the American racing calendar is really strong once we get past these next few weeks.
And it's exciting because you've got all these 2-year-olds who are about to turn 3, and you look at the entries, and there's so many new faces that are joining the fray, and it's just sometimes during the summer you see the same old horses all the time. Now you're getting fresh blood, so It's always these maiden races, regardless of where you're handicapping, and certainly the money at Oaklawn is incredible.
Yeah,
Fairgrounds has got a lot there, Aqueduct, and of course here at Santa Anita as well. But it's challenging, but it's a good kind of challenge because you've got to do your homework, and that's what the horse player wants to be able to do.
Let's do our homework for these 8 stakes races this weekend, starting off at Aqueduct, where the Garland of Roses will be a 6-furlong sprint worth $120,000. This sprint race number 8 on the card, Saturday at Aqueduct, named for the Hobo Farm and Alan Jerkins trainee back in the early 70s, Garland of Roses. Mm-hmm. Jeff, at the top of my past performances, I wrote streaks and speed in this race. You've got some fillies that are really rattling off win streaks. The one Disco Ebos won 4 of her last 5 on the front end. Olga Isabel's won 5 of her last 6 on the front end, and Hot Fudge has won 3 of her last 4 on the front end. This is going to be a hell of a race from the get-go.
And they all have, the 3 that you mentioned have speed figures that are more than capable of winning. So who shows up with their best race? I actually ended up with Olga Isabel, even though she's never actually been in a stake, and numbers-wise, she's a little shy of where maybe she has to be when you consider what Disco Ebo can do, and and Hot Fudge, but she is undefeated since joining the Brad Cox barn, so that
Yep.
catches my eye. And she's won off, and she's won on the lead, drawn away. She's won holding on after cutting out fractions going a mile, but she's backing up to 6 furlongs. And if you look at her form, it's surprising to find out that this will be her 8th career start, and she's never run actually 6 furlongs.
Right. The most common distance in racing.
7 furlongs, a mile. She backed up to 6.5 in her last race, which was her shortest race. And I think what happened there is that because she's a daughter of Tiz now, her original trainer probably felt, well, she's probably a router, so I'll route her. And she kept running well. But I'm pretty sure that 6 furlongs is going to agree with her based on her very nice win at Keeneland. And she's going to be, she doesn't have to be in front because she's won off the pace, but she should be in the forward flank and then have every chance to prove that she's good enough based on her last race at Keeneland, which I believe makes her good enough.
Trying to reel in the leader, then a gap of 6 more lengths back to Be Like Water. 1/8 of a mile to go. Olga Isabel now under urging. You're So Silly has not thrown in the towel. She's still trying, but there's still 3 lengths between them. 16th pole, Olga Isabel. Tyler Gaffalione aboard. Olga Isabel wins it. You're So Silly was second.
Tyler Gaffalione aboard that day. It'll be Manny Franco at Aqueduct. Franco, Cox, they only team up at 31% together, according to TRF stats. So no shame in the rider assignment there, and the connection is very strong. If there is a closer to win this race, the one I'll throw out there is You Look Cold. Bill Mott trains this one. Made up a lot of ground last time, finishing strong under Junior Alvarado. Dylan Davis will ride here. It's the closer in the race with an underline for me, if there is one to be won here. But the talent in this race looks to be amongst the front-end fillies in here. And again, they're on those tremendous win streaks. Maybe you can get You Look Cold in second for the exacta, that one of the top fillies just out sprints the others and they get gutted and somebody can clum along and run second in here. Backwheeling You Look Cold in the underneath spots with some of those top contenders might be a decent gamble in here in this particular spot. Garland of Roses, Aqueduct's feature race on Saturday. Let's turn our attention next to Turfway Park, where the winter meet is up and running now. And Wednesday night racing at Turfway Park is a great opportunity to take advantage of a promo at Express Bet and First Bet, where if you bet $100 on Wednesday cards at Turfway Park, you get $20 back. Fantastic promo there. Take advantage of that on Wednesdays during the course of December at Turfway. But the Saturday feature at Turfway Park is the My Charmers Stakes. $125,000 here, mile and a 16th, 2 turns on the Tapeta surface in this particular one. And Jeff, there's a really well-bred filly in here who's the morning line favorite. She's Moofy. She's by Uncle Mo and out of Truly Together. That means she's the granddaughter of Forever Together, the mare who won the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf and earned over $2 million, almost $3 million. In fact, Moofy's well-bred. She's coming off a couple races at varying surfaces and locales. Ellis Park, at Woodbine last time. She didn't run maybe as well on the synthetic at Woodbine. Do you like her synthetic form here back to Turfway Park, or is she better on the turf? What do you make of Moofy in here?
She's actually run well on dirt too, if you want to know the truth. So Moofy's got a chance. She's one of several here that have a legitimate chance to win this race. It is an all-weather, and I'd like to see form on all-weather. Katish, number 3, is an Arrogate filly. She's actually run well on synthetic, although and actually she did run well here at Turfway back in the day. When I say back in the day, I mean she was second in a race called the Bourbonnette Oaks back in April, which is
22.
Yeah,
it's been a while. 22. It was back in the day,
right. But that was a prep for the Kentucky Oaks. She missed some time. She was off a long time, off for more than not more than a year, but several months. Ran in May, then she's off again. So I don't know where she's at, but now she's in Michael Stidham's barn, and her numbers and her form on all weather. She's been first or second 7 out of 10 times overall, first or second 6 out of 7 on synthetic. And she's a versatile filly because she can lay on the lead, or if you need her to sit second or third, she can do that as well. I like where she's drawn. I mean, to me, the barn has very good stats with layoff runners. And looking at the work tab at Turfway, I mean, she worked 5/8 in a minute and 2/5 back in early November. So she should be fit enough.
Yeah.
So I think Katisha looks to me as good as any, recognizing that there are 4 or 5 in here that on form are probably just as good. 3-1 on the morning line. I wouldn't take much less than that, but I have a hunch that Katish is fit and ready to fire a big shot.
If you're handicapping Turfway over the first couple weeks of the meet, jockey Luan Machado is as hot as any jock in America, riding almost 50% early in the meet. So keep an eye. He's on Lexa in the 7th race, the My Charmer Stakes at Turfway Park. Let's go next to Gulfstream on Saturday. In Gulfstream Park, you get 10 times express bet and first bet wager rewards points on every race you bet at Gulfstream during the month of December. So get in here early in the championship meet and experience those 10-time wager rewards points at Gulfstream Park. We've got a pair of stakes races on the Saturday card that we're going to handicap from Gulfstream. They'll go as races 6 and 11. First up is race number 6. It's the Wait a While. These are basically brother-sister kind of races. The Wait a While for the 2-year-old fillies going 7.5 on the turf. The Pulpit will be for the Colts, the 2-year-old Colts going 7.5. Now, 7.5 furlongs, Jeff, isn't technically considered a route, but it's a 2-turn race over this turf course at Gulfstream Park. To me, it plays much more like a route. And, it's interesting when you get some of these 2-year-olds, it's stretch out time, it's surface change time this time of year. We've got a couple in here that are trying to switch things up, like Great Venezuela coming off back-to-back wins, but those were synthetic sprints. Now you're going 2 turns on the turf. So change is in the air for a race like this, and I think that's something people have to take into consideration when handicapping.
Yeah, I mean, Great Venezuela is a really good filly. She got beat ahead somehow in a maiden 25 first time out. They were trying to steal a purse there at 5-1, got beat by a next out winner, a pretty good filly herself. She was 11 clear of everybody else. They decided not to run her back for a tag. She comes back and wins by 6 at a good number, wins an allowance race, drawn away. With Leroy de Sanamo on the bottom side of the pedigree, Great Venezuela absolutely should not only route, but she should love the grass. And if I had to pick one horse here that I really trust, I think it would be her. However, there's an interesting filly coming in from Ireland, a filly who won an all-weather race in a 13-runner field, Milliad, and she really has trained well since arriving here. She's the one on the outside. Now, when you see her work at Palm Meadows around dogs, it's almost impossible for the workmate on the outside to, quote unquote, win the work. You rarely see it. The inside always has an edge. But here, you can see Miliak not only winning the work, but doing it under wraps and drawing away and galloping out really well. I mean, this workout really caught my eye. I don't know too much about her Dundalk race, but it was 7/8, so I don't think the distance will be bothering her at all. You can see her just gallop out. I mean, this might be a really good filly like Kodiak. And, I don't know. I don't know how she fits with these, but I mean, it's going to be easy for the handicapper to look at Great Venezuela and say, okay, I'll go with that one. And, and there's a few others in here that should get play as well. But when I see a filly work that well, what we just saw, that is a tip-off to me. Miliad is based on what I just saw, she's a really good filly, and she's going to be a better price. So I'm going to try to beat the logical horse, Great Venezuela, with Miliad. Christophe Clement's got one coming down from Beach Cruiser that's going to get play as well. Pretty good race here, going 7.5. But based on price, I'm going to gamble on Miliad to win the Wait a While.
Ozara's one who's proven at least 2 turns on the turf and in stakes company. Of the ones that don't have to answer questions, Ozara's probably checked most of the boxes off. Irad riding for Clement. You're going to get a shorter price, though, than you probably want on that one. Race number 6, the Wait a While Stakes, co-featured on Saturday at Gulfstream. Let's go next to the Colt version of the Wait a While Stakes. It's the 7.5 furlong 2-year-old, $120,000 or $100,000 Pulpit Stakes. I have no clue, Jeff, whatsoever why there's a turf stakes named after Pulpit. He never ran on the turf in his career. Of course, he was the favorite for the 1997 Kentucky Derby in the morning line. Didn't go off the actual favorite at post time, though. He finished 4th in that one. You know a little something about the 97 Derby, Captain Bodgett, back in the day. That was a tremendous edition of that race. Pulpit was a very good 3-year-old that year. Had some knee issues going into the Derby. It was his last career start. Never ran again after that. But he was 2nd in the Florida Derby, won the Bluegrass and Fountain of Youth. Pulpit was a nice one, but he wasn't a turf horse.
Well, neither was Sword Dancer, and he's got a grass race named after him. And I don't remember Manowar ever running on grass, although maybe he did for all I know, But I mean, it's weird.
You didn't see Manowar live, though, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I can't actually verify that he didn't run on grass. he probably, grazed on it when he was a baby. But other than that, I'm not sure how they come up with these names. But this is a difficult race for me. I went top to bottom, didn't find anything I liked. Top to bottom for the second glance, nothing happened there. Ended up with Palm Tree, but you did this race as your race of the week. I think you probably had a better feel for it than I do because I had no feel for it. So I want to listen to you first, and then I may change my pick if you're convincing enough.
Well, sometimes you got to go with what you know, right? And when I look back at Double Your Money, a horse who ran in Kentucky in all 3 starts in the Bourbon Stakes last time, he was a horse I was interested in a little bit in the Bourbon Stakes, but he drew the 11 of 12 that day, still ran a good race. Prior to that, he was stuck out in the 10 of 10 outside at Kentucky Downs. It's not quite as bad a draw at Kentucky Downs for the mile trip, but at Keeneland going on the outside there in the Bourbon Stakes, he had a really tough assignment that day. No shame in how far he got beat at 20-1. So I think you got a real post position flip here for Double Your Money. Horse who's been in the 10, 11 hole the last couple, now draws the 3, and Junior Alvarado can save a lot of ground because this horse has tactical speed. Tactical speed horses out wide are a bad situation, right? I mean, because you can't gun and you can't take back. Tactical speed on the inside, however, is absolutely what you want. So I think Double Your Money is really going to improve his chances in this particular spot from what he's been in. And I thought the Bourbon Stakes was a solid race this year. Not tremendous, but Noted comes out of that race and is probably going to be favored in here, right? Noted ran second in the Bourbon, then ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, didn't do a whole lot in there, but it's, back to the turf for Noted. It's Rapoli Stable, it's Pletcher, it's Irad Ortiz. Noted's going to get better in this spot, and I don't think there's a big difference between Noted and Double Your Money in terms of talent on the turf, and I love the post position switch here. So I think the value play in here, the aptly named Double Your Money, you're going to more than double your money if we can get this one home.
Yeah, and he's going to get a great trip from where he's drawn with his tactical speed. I ended up with Palm Tree, but without any great conviction. The only reason he was actually in the same race as the Bourbon, and he's come back and trained well since he's the one on the inside. And I mentioned a few minutes back that the inside always seems to win the work when they go around dogs at Palm Meadows, and he's going to win the work, and he's going to look pretty good here. Ears are up, not really being asked at all, just a nice easy breeze. Now, it's worth noting he came back and worked at Palm Meadows in 58-1, but I don't think there were any dogs that day, but we don't have that work, unfortunately. So he looked decent here. He's also a first-time gelding. That's an angle that I always like. Lightly raced 2-year-old Brendan Walsh. For them to geld him as a 2-year-old, he must really needed it. Let's put it that way. The switch to Luis Saez. So, and again, in the 5-hole, he's got tactical speed as well. He again in the Bourbon, it looked like maybe he had a little trouble. He really didn't. He wasn't beaten that far. But in a race like that, you get beat 2 lengths. It might as well be 10, really, when you think about it. So I put him on top as a gamble because of the first time gelding angle. But and a fast recent workout. Other than that, I don't have any great feel for it. So Double Your Money seems probably as good as any.
Somebody's calling to Double Your Money right now. Answer that line. General Ledger's one, I think.
That's the same guy who called me the other
day. They know when we're on the air. That's the thing.
Right.
General Ledger's horse in here is a little interesting to me, Jeff, because Safi Joseph Jr. was so dominant on the turf during the championship meet last year. You think, like, who are the top turf trainers? You don't think Safi at Gulfstream Park, but the numbers tell you something completely different. His turf horses were fabulous here last year. General Ledger's run 3 sprints on the main track, now stretches out, has been bet to heavy favoritism in all 3 career starts, and now is going to be completely let go. There's no way General Ledger's going to get bet up against these horses, and especially coming off a 40 buyer last time in the Juvenile Sprint Stakes. I think General Ledger's a little sneaky sly in here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he runs better than people think.
I wanted to pick him, honestly, and there was a reason why I didn't. But he's by summer front. He should like the grass. He's stretching out for the first time. He's got speed. He might even clear the field. I really wanted to like his dirt sprints, and I really didn't like them that much. If there was something there that I could have hung my hat on, I would have gone for him. But again, in a race like this, if he gets loose in the lead, a first-time turf, by summer front, why wouldn't he? Why couldn't he win? So
we'll need a wake-up call from what shows on paper, but he seems like the kind of horse that could show something that doesn't look there to be obvious.
He might be a much different horse on turf. We don't know.
Let's take some price chances in there. Neither one of us, though, just diving in on Noted, who I think is going to be a short price and a vulnerable price there in the Pulpit Stakes. Let's go next to Oaklawn Park on Saturday, where they've got a pair of stakes races as well. Races 6 and 9 on the card, the Ring the Bell and the Mistletoe Stakes. Ring the Bell is a 6-furlong sprint, and we've got some horses who are quite familiar with Oaklawn Park here, including Tejano Twist, a horse who's won a couple times here in the past. This year won the Grade 3 Whitmore Stakes earlier in the season, and he comes off a victory last time out at Churchill Downs in the Bet on Sunshine.
His Empire of Gold miles ahead is under pressure. Necker Island is picking through the pack with a move. Tejano Twist comes up on the far outside. There's 1 furlong to go. Bango goes for the record now. He grabs the lead, but Tejano Twist is motoring down the center, and miles ahead's between them. Final 16th, and Tejano Twist has gone from last to first to score in the Bet on Sunshine, winning by a length and a half in the end.
He likes Churchill, he likes Oaklawn, and he likes to finish races. And in a race where I think there's some decent amount of pace in here, Tejano Twist, Jeff, he's just rock solid finishing races.
I'll tell you another thing that he likes to do. He likes to string together wins. And that's another thing, because sometimes when you see a horse win and then they come back and don't run well the next time, it usually means that they put so much into their win that they weren't as sharp the next time, especially if they don't have much time off. But Tejano Twist put together 3 wins, and what was impressive to me last summer, did it at 3 different tracks. So he's a versatile kind of horse. He's a prototype late running sprinter. He's a 2-time winner at Oaklawn Park. And even though he came off a layoff to win the Bet on Sunshine and had to lay his body down to do it and earn a career top number, or equaling number anyway, he's had 5 weeks off now. So it should be okay for him. He's such a pro. I just think he's going to find a way and continue winning over a track that I know he really likes.
Right next door to him is the 3-year-old Rivet. Has faced only 3-year-olds to this point. It's December. It's not a big deal. 3-year-olds taking on older horses from a physical standpoint, a developmental standpoint, but on a resume standpoint, this horse has run all in restricted company, right? They've always been against his age group. This will be the first time in open company for Rivet. So while you may have liked his last win in the Steel Valley Sprint, 300 grander at Mahoning Valley a couple weeks ago, that was 11-1 against straight 3-year-olds. I fear you might take a shorter price in this spot than maybe you deserve on Rivet.
Right. No, that's true. It's a tough thing. You're stepping into some salty competition here. Tejano Twist, after he'd gotten good, they kind of got high on him. Then he was third to Skelly, who was really good at that time. Chased home Gunite and Cody's Wish in back-to-back races. So that's not the kind of company that Rivet's seen. You know what I'm saying? So Tejano Twist, he's been there, done that, and that's why I think he gets the edge.
Let's go to the Mistletoe Stakes next at Oaklawn Park. It's race number 9. This is a mile race at Oaklawn in the filly and mare division. So maybe we're looking at some horses who by the end of the meet could be talking apple blossom, but this is a good $150,000 level distaff division race. The 1 mile races, I should say, are around 2 turns at Oaklawn Park. And of course, they end at the 16th pole finish line if you're not familiar with Oaklawn. So they only got to get to the 16th pole to win this race, Jeff. But there's a hot pace in here, I think. There's going to be some competition on the front end. I'd be curious to see if the speed holds and how it plays throughout the card. Some talented horses in here have front-running tactics. If speed's holding, then, of course, their chances increase. If speed's backing up opening weekend at Oaklawn, then this is a race that could set up for some closers. How'd you see the Mistletoe?
Well, it could, but Coastal Charm, while she is a speed horse, she can sit second and win just as easily doing that. So Marty Garcia, who obviously knows her well, can kind of play the break and figure out where he wants to be. And I also like 3 out of 5. That's 3 wins and 5 starts over the main track at Oaklawn Park. And while she's been freshened since August 13th, that's fine. She came off a similar layoff earlier this year to win an allowance race at Oaklawn Park. So, I mean, to me, I think she's pretty solid. She's generally a consistent, dependable filly by Ghost Sapper, and 5 out of 12 lifetime with proven form over the course and a good style that'll keep her trouble-free. I like Coastal Charm to win the Mistletoe.
If you like one from off the pace in here, consider maybe Misty Vale turning back a bit from some really classy races. Her last 2 were against Search Results and Jiguera, who is really rising in the distaff division. So good competition there coming out of the Locust Grove and the Falls City. Good good inside draw in the 2-hole to save some ground. If you're going to close, you want to save ground on that first turn for sure. And again, you've got the short stretch to work with. So you can't give away anything on the first turn that when you get around the far turn, you've got to get there by the 16th hole. So Misty Vale, inside trip, maybe under Isaac Castillo, one for me to watch in there in the Mistletoe Stakes. Let's turn our attention now to Golden Gate Fields, where it's the Bear Fan Stakes will be the featured race on the Saturday card. Frank Miramati on the mic at Golden Gate now. Matt Dinnerman, of course, has changed his locale to Oaklawn Park. So we'll hear Matt at Oaklawn on Saturday and Frank at Golden Gate Fields. The Bear Fan Stakes is for Calbred. $75,000 is the purse in this one. And the sprinters match up in race number 9 on the card, including Chancery Way, who won this race last year in wire-to-wire fashion. Jeff, she was 10-1 last year. Do you like Chancery Ray and a chance to repeat?
I wish I liked her when she sold for a yearling at $6,500 in the Northern California sale. And there's a story behind that because the mare, This Means War, was a really nice mare, and I like Mr. Big, who doesn't. And they were selling her. I figured here's a filly that I could really maybe steal. And I actually had someone look at her for me, and I said, "Look, I'll drive up or fly up to buy her if you like her." And she sent me. I got some pictures of her as a baby, as a yearling, and I can honestly say I've never seen a more miserable looking yearling in my life. So I didn't go for her, and the breeder, Harris Farms, they literally gave her away at $6,500. Just get rid of her. Anyway, she's won 8 out of 11. So sometimes
so much for looks, right?
Sometimes looks doesn't tell the story, and every time she wins, it's what I could have done, but I could never have done it. I would have been laughed out of the backstretch buying a horse like this the way she looked. But what a race mare she is, a filly is, and she just wins and wins and wins. And she won at Del Mar going 7/8, and she just finds a way. And I mean, it's not even like I have to worry about whether she'll like the synthetic, because she's done that too at Golden Gate.
Right,
she won't done anything, and she's fine. And by the way, Jamie Thomas has done a great job of managing her as well. You don't win 6 out of 11 with 2 seconds and 2/3 if you're overmatched. I mean, he's always seems to put her where she belongs. And she belongs here, I'll tell you that.
Her last win in the Betty Grable at Del Mar, over 7 furlongs. Let's take a look back.
Chancery Way still there, a 2.5 length lead with 1 furlong to go. And then it's Carmen Miranda, followed by Rose Dawson and Chismosa to the outside, Bella D at the rail, but it's Chancery Way who takes him every step of the way in the Betty Grable. Won it by 4. And then it was Rose Dawson, Carmen Miranda, and Gloria Springforth.
Now, I'll say you picked the videos that we run on this show, so that wasn't me sticking a dagger into Jeff Siegel out there. So I don't want anybody to comment that, Jeff has to wince every time this filly wins a race. He picked the video to show in this case.
Well, no, I mean, I like her. I mean, she's just a racehorse. One thing I will say for her, though, and you wouldn't think this would be the case, being by Mr. Big out of a mare by War Chant. Mr. Big gets routers, and the War Chant, of course, was a Breeders' Cup Turf Mile winner.
Right.
She looks like I'll need the lead time. I mean, I'm based on her form.
Right.
Now, that may simply be because she's been better than everybody she keeps running against.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one day we'll find out if she can sit second or third and then go on and do that. But she seems to find a way. And I mean, she'll be a short price, and I expect her to win again.
Baby Kristen down on the rails got some speed. Tamara Mine to her outside has a little bit of speed, so maybe she gets a tough trip in between horses. If somebody can run with her, like you said, she might just outfoot them all. If they do, maybe Tam's Little Angel from off the pace, Frank Alvarado, coming off a nice win last time, shortens the trip here. And again, you're going to need the top players to come back in order to win a race like this. If you're going to beat Chancery Way, it's not going to be fellow up front types. It'll be somebody from off the pace when things all come back. So Tam's Little Angel may be one to use in the exacta second, or if you're looking for an upset pick in there, maybe one to keep an eye on. Let's go to our final handicapping chore of the weekend. It's the Starlet Stakes at Los Alamitos. Grade 2, $200,000 here, a mile and a 16th. These are juvenile fillies looking to solidify themselves towards next year's Santa Anita Oaks Trail and potentially the Kentucky Oaks. You had mentioned this at the top of the show. Bob Baffert has owned this race over the years. He's won it 9 times overall, the last 6 years in a row. John White wrote a very scary blog about that. He was talking about streaking and how it was a rage when he was in college. And he was going somewhere where I was hoping he wasn't going, and then he kind of brought it back to racing and talked about Bob Baffert's streak in this race. So check it out. John's got his picks for the Starlet. He'll scare the hell out of you thinking that you're going to hear about him streaking somewhere, but he pulled it back. He delivered his picks. So if you want some more analysis on the Starlet Stakes, be sure to check out the blog section at expresspet.com and at news.first.com. Jeff Siegel, we are fully clothed, and we're going to talk about this race now. Who did you like in the Starlet?
Well, you look at Baffert's filly, and I think both were visually pleasing in victory when they won last time out. Nothing Like You, the Whale won a maiden, came back and won the Desi Arnaz, and then Grazia, an Uncle Mo filly, won her debut, although she didn't change leads. And I think this might be asking a little bit more than maybe she's ready to show, but she's a good filly, and she may be able to overcome it anyway. So Baffert could easily run 1-2, and he usually does in this race. I ended up with Chatalis, or Chatalis. I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. But she is a gun runner filly, and she won the Chandelier at Santa Anita, grade 2. I liked the way she did that. Didn't beat a great group, but she was unplaced in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies in her most recent start, had a terrible trip, and got knocked back at the start, lost all chance, draw a line through that. Why I picked her is because of this workout, which took place what was it, about a few days ago, December 2nd, and she's on the outside, and she's just cruising here. She looks good. She's going to finish head and head with the workmate, and she went 1:04, but she could have, blown by her if you wanted to. You don't want to go too fast. No need to do that. But I mean, she looked like a happy filly, and now all she has to do is come out of the gate cleanly. And again, being by gun runner, I think her best days are ahead of her. She's already a grade 2 winner, and she's already won 2 turnings. So, I mean, this is a volatile race because I'm not sure how the pace is going to look like. Chatalis won her Chandelier on the lead. I know she can do that, but the way they trained her broke her off, several lengths behind the workmate. She switched off beautifully. She relaxed. She kicked home nicely without being asked. If they take her back, that won't bother me at all either. I think she can do that. So I'm going to go with her. And I think because Baffert's got 2 major players in this race, and he always wins the race anyway, everybody knows that, we might get a better price than we should have gotten on Chatalis. So we'll go with her, and it's a good race. I think there's some nice fillies in here that we will see in major races after the first of the year.
I wouldn't mind a filly who already has experience in the 2-turn game and routing and going this distance at Los Alamitos, because extremely long stretch run, right? It just goes on forever. And so you talked about the horse who was struggling to change leads around 1 turn, Grazia. Like if you don't change leads and you're like on that same lead that entire stretch run at Los Alamitos, that will wear on a horse and make it very tough on him. I don't have the numbers to back it up, but I would have to think that sprint the route at Los Alamitos, going these, mile to 16th kind of trips, has got to be a difficult task, tougher than a lot of the other racetracks, say at Santa Anita, where you're going 200, 300 feet less in the stretch run than you would be at Santa Anita or at Los Al once you turn.
You know what it is, Jeremy? And it's a good point. Excellent observation there. But because there's such a long stretch, when you get a sprinter stretching out, the jockeys always figure, oh, wow, that stretches forever. I better take a hold and wait and patient. And what they do is they take the strength, the best weapon away from them. So they hit the top of the stretch, and it rated so nicely, but the filly's been away, So, I mean, I like it when they let them barrel out there. I mean, I'm not going crazy, but let them use their weapon, Right. And that's what happens. So that, I mean, I'm not going to say that Flavian Prat needs my advice on how to ride Grazia. And I certainly don't think Juan Hernandez needs any instructions from me. So I think Baffert and those two will probably I think they will be allowed to show their best weapon, which is their speed.
Yeah.
And then Chatalis might just draft in and sit third. But the way she worked the other day, I think she'll be happy. I think she'll settle in and make a run.
Yeah, when you work a horse too, like going back to that video, when you work a horse 4 or 5 lengths behind a workmate, you're trying to teach him something, and you're trying to get that patience. So it seems to be what they're trying to do with Chatalis, is let somebody else go, right? Yeah. And she did it the right way. So if you're playing Los Al this weekend, and we hope you are, of course, we've got those handicapping tournaments to talk about, the $80 feeder tournaments at Los Al Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Win one of those $80 feeder tournaments, and you could be playing in the big money Santa Anita Opening Day Challenge December 26th. And of course, tournament tournament players have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, $80 feeder tournaments at Gulfstream Park as well, which will qualify you to the really big money to play in the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship coming up in January. So a lot of great tournament play. And again, if you play Los Alamitos with First Bet and Express Bet $100, get 20 back, a 20% rebate on your wagers. Bet 100 on any given card, get $20 back when you play Los Al the entire month here coming up in December, as Los Al has a couple more weeks of racing. So certainly stuff you want to watch in terms of the promotion department. Go to the promos page at Express Bet or on the First Bet app. On the First Bet app, go to the bottom right and click on the promotions button down there, and you can get all the promos each and every day. Take advantage of them. If you go out to a restaurant to eat and they've got a good sale on a dish you like anyway, you're more likely to try it that night. So those promos can really help you, especially this time of year. We're all watching our money and we're buying gifts and doing everything else. Take advantage of where the offers are and be sure to take advantage of those. First Bet and Express Bet racing this weekend internationally for you on our platform from Hong Kong. It's Hong Kong Vase and Hong Kong Mile Night. Saturday night into Sunday. It'll already be Sunday in Hong Kong, but Saturday night, if you're on the East Coast and on the West Coast playing those races overnight, go to the blog section, Express Bet and First Bet, and you can get full card picks from international handicapper Declan Schuster. We're going to take his pick from overseas, knows that scene in Hong Kong very well. So get those full card picks and enjoy a $10 money back special on all your win bets throughout the card on Hong Kong Saturday night from Shaw Tin. If your win bet finishes second or third, you get up to $10 back in the form of wagering credits when you play with First Bet and Express Bet. So a lot of great international racing, Jeff, and you and I will get to come back on Tuesday to recap it all on the It's Official podcast.
We will do that and look ahead to Remington's big day on Friday. Right. I know that'll pique your interest for
Absolutely.
Sure. Big day there Friday night, and a very good race called the Springboard Mile?
Springboard Mile. That's right.
For 2-year-olds, it can often produce a really nice 2-turn and 3. So we'll be watching for that. Racing at Los Alamitos, of course, Gulfstream Park, Fairgrounds, Aqueduct, as we all, at least I await Santa Anita on the first day after Christmas. So anyway, good racing, and it's not too busy, but busy enough, and see if we can pick some winners for you on this show and then make some money.
All right. Well, we'll be back on Tuesday again for the It's Official podcast. So between now and then, have a great weekend, everybody. On behalf of First Technologies and my partner, Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Take care. We'll see you Tuesday.